Hey guys, Matthew here. So this is a bit more of an impromptu video. It wasn't planned or anything, but once I saw that the Atlas was revealed for the Blight League, I couldn't help but take a look at it. Really couldn't be fucked to actually figure out which map was which, so I waited for somebody to make a nice little Atlas draw like this. So want to give a big shout out to Vocandin, or Vocandin. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but you're the man, dude. Thank you so much for your work, because this is gonna make it so much easier. So once I actually got access to this and saw this, which I will link in the description, by the way, I took a quick look and I was thinking about which maps would be really pog. So there's a few different strategies that are going to be going on within the Blight League. Obviously, the minion helmets or bone helmets are going to be very, very nice. So farming high tier maps for high item level bone helmets is going to be really, really good. Especially, item level 86, I believe, is necessary for level 3 minion gems. So that would only be available in like T14, T15 maps if you were to roll like +2 level of items in strong boxes, stuff like that. Anyways, so not going to be easy to get, but definitely possible. There's also going to be the div cards, but that's not really what I want to talk about in this video. In this video, I mostly want to talk about actually low tier map farming strategies that would go hand in hand with the chaos recipe strategy that I spoke about in my last video. So for people who have been thinking or who want to set up a group or even do it solo, whatever, and want to really try to max out the chaos recipe, well, there's two map choices that you have right now, or at least that I figured out, that are going to be very, very good. So the first one is City Square. So the reason why City Square is because it's a T5 map. T5 is very easy to sustain with just alking, honestly, alking go. And it's also in a pretty good spot. It can be affected by a few white sextants if you wanted to invest a little bit into it. But the actual reason why I really like City Square, every single league basically, is because it's triple bosses. It's a very good layout. It doesn't hurt the eyes because of the actual map colors. So it's just a nice map to be farming and chaining. And the reason why triple bosses is so OP is because of the possible prophecies that you can use to double that to get up to 6 bosses in your map, which is insane. And also because what's going to be really nice about City Square is to simply alk and val it. So by alk and valing, you'll basically be corrupting the 3 bosses, or upwards of like 6 bosses, and then those 6 or 3 or 6 bosses are corrupted, which means they all have a chance to drop a sacrifice fragment, and those sac frags alone will basically cover the cost of your map, of your alchemy, and of your vals, and of your bricks. So for example, if you brick one and it becomes a T6, just the sac frags alone will cover that cost. By valing your map, you have a very good chance of turning it into a better map, especially when it's such a low level map. So like an 8-mod map and stuff like that, and the returns from those are pretty nuts. The other reason why I really like City Square in this Atlas is because it's connected to channel. Channel is always going to be good because of the div card for the tabula, which basically means more divine orbs, and early league, more tabulas is just outright more currency, because everybody wants their tabula to start doing their character and stuff, right? So that's going to be really nice. So real quickly, how you would go about perma-sustaining City Square, the thing is you would actually need your Elder Orb. The other strategy that I'll talk about right after, you would not need your Elder Orb, which is pretty pog. So since City Square is a T5, to perma-sustain it, you would basically have no other T5 completed on your Atlas, and no T6. But the thing is, it's connected to 2 T6 maps, right? So you would have to either Shape or Elder Lighthouse, and Shape or Elder Bone Crypt. By shaping them into T11s and eldering them, one of them, then your City Square would be your only T5, no T6, and then Channel would be your only T4, and then everything T7 onward you could have completed to as high as you wanted to, honestly. So that would allow you to perma-sustain City Square. You probably wouldn't perma-sustain Channel, because when you're running Channel, you have two T3s. Or sorry, what am I saying? You have two T. Yeah, actually, no, never mind. You could perma-sustain Channel as well. How you would do that is basically just simply shape your marshes. By shaping the marshes map, then you would have no other T5 except for City Square, and no other T4 because nothing is connected to those. So essentially giving you only channels and city squares to farm. So that is the first strategy when it comes to this atlas. And the reason why I'm mentioning this one is because, like I said, triple bosses with Vals that's OP for the stack frags. And the other reason is because it's a T5 map, easy to sustain, but also available for Chaos Recipe. So the way the Chaos Recipe works is that it's only till item level 75 on your item set. If you have anything over item level 75, then it becomes the Regal Orb recipe, which is nowhere near as good, like not even half as good. So since item levels in this game, basically rare monsters drop one higher item level than your map tier, and then bosses drop like 2 item levels higher than your map tier, basically. By having City Square, every single item that drops on the map, except the ones that have like higher levels from strong boxes and stuff like that, will basically be within the range of item level 75. The second strategy won't have that possibility of every single item being available, but by simply having a custom loot filter, you can filter out these items that would not be available and simply not look at them and not get to see them, which is pretty easy to do. So that's the first strategy, City Square. The second is Racecourse. So why Racecourse? Well, once again, we're looking at a map with triple bosses, which means a good one to Val. It's also a T6 map. So T6 isn't all that hard to sustain either. Simply Alk and Val should be enough to sustain Racecourse. You really shouldn't have to actually invest any more than that into it. So why Racecourse? Like I said, triple bosses available for Chaos Recipe. It's only 1 tier higher than City Square. The only thing is, in this one, the boss drops may be too high item level for the Chaos Recipe. So, like I said, having a custom loot filter that doesn't show any rares past item level 75 for when you're farming low tier maps for your Chaos Recipe will fix that. Another reason why I think Racecourse is going to be good, because it's super easy to sustain since you don't need your Elder Orb. You simply have to shape Ghetto, and then the only T6 you have available will be Racecourse if you have no other one on your map, and then no other T7 on your map. You could go as far as to shape Wastepool as well, so then Wastepool would no longer drop either, meaning that your only T6 or T7 would be Racecourse. But you could also decide to go ahead and keep Wastepool on your map, despite the fact that it's a T7, which means a lot of items that are rare that will drop in there will not be available for the Chaos Recipe. Depending on the league mechanic and how it's set up, Wastepool might be super pog. If we see a league mechanic with Blight, kind of like it was in Abyss, then indoor maps are going to be super strong. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if we see a league mechanic in Blight, kind of like with Legion, then Wastepool would be a complete waste. I see what I did there. So you wouldn't want to go Wastepool at all. That would be bad. And then you would shape it to a T13 and never have to worry about that one either. Only leaving you with Racecourses. Racecourse is also a nice layout, very nice layout. There's also videos on YouTube showing how to basically run Racecourse without having to backtrack a single step, which is super pog, because it's kind of like a it's kind of like an 8. It's like an 8 shape, but multiple layers 8 shape. But there's some really nice videos on YouTube, like I said, about how to run the map without ever backtracking, and that's really good when it comes to min-maxing. So, yeah, that's basically what I have for you guys today in terms of the first looks that I had at the Atlas and low-tier map farming. Obviously, there are some other contenders. Looking at Burials, for example, it looks like it will be available to hit with like 5 White Sextants, which is crazy. Having the possibility to hit like a burial chambers, and you could shape it to a T9 or even elder it. And hitting it with 5 different white sextants means that burials is going to see a lot more playtime than it did in Legion. Even despite the fact that they lowered the crap out of the headhunter card. If you can run it eldered and juice it up and then have 5 white sextants, the amount of monsters in there will be crazy, which should in turn give you quite a bit more returns and doctor cards over time. Not a strategy that I'm going to be going for though, but a decent one nonetheless. You also have the Strand one for, say, auto bombers and these other builds that basically just hold down a button and they're all about going as fast as possible. So Strand is going to be a good contender because it has multiple white sextant maps available. You could shape it. Typically, though, you wouldn't want to. You'd keep it as a T3. Then the issue with that would be sustaining it, but you could simply buy it in bulk, and that would fix your issue. There would also probably be a way to make it so you only drop strands. The only problem then becomes the fact that all these maps that you could use white sextant on, now you have to use yellow sextants on to perma-sustain strand, but it wouldn't be too hard to do. Basically, how you'd go about it is use your shape you'd shape alleyways, shape ivory temple, shape arid lake, or sorry, you don't have to shape ivory temple, what am I saying? You would more than likely just shape arid lake for the most part, I guess. So that would become a T9. So then you would have Strand as your only T3, which means you wouldn't have the possibility of using a sextant on Ivory Temple, other than if you shaped it. I guess, yeah, once again, if you shaped Ivory Temple into T8, then you could use a yellow sextant to affect your Strand. But at that point, it becomes a lot of sextants for not much returns on a white map. So personally, how I'd go about it if I wanted to run just a ton of Strand is I would keep all of these as white maps. Maybe just Arid Lake so I can perma-sustain Strand, or not even, honestly. I would just keep all of these as white maps to be able to sextant them. And actually, I'd probably just go ahead and shape Strand, or maybe even Elder Strand, depending on the mob density, if they change it or anything. Wasn't that great last league, for example, but now if you can hit it with like 5 white sextants on a T16 Elder Strand, might be worth it. Otherwise, having it shaped to a T8 would definitely be a very good strategy by using white sextants all around it. So there's definitely going to be a ton of different strategies when it comes to trying to make currency in terms of mapping. There's also going to be, like I said, the Bone Helmet one, running very high tier map for Bone Helmets. So looking at Coves, Primordial Blocks, Colosseum, Siege. Siege might be a very good one this league once again. Siege might be back to the top. We'll have to see. Cemetery as well as another triple map boss. Might be good. The only thing is it's T12, so you wouldn't be hitting these really high item level for your Bone Helmets. If you were to drop one, so questionable, but possible. So that's basically going to be it for the video. That's what I had in terms of Atlas strategies as far as basically what we know. Obviously, this doesn't include the new wand for the new minion wand, and that might change a lot. We have no idea where it's going to drop for now. So I'll probably have another video when it comes to Atlas strategies after the league starts, and whenever I decide to go for mine, or we get to know what's actually really good for the Blight mechanic. But until then, that's basically going to be the Atlas video, and hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully you learned a little something. On a final note, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreons, Jose, which is Kfish, Alex, Dante, ZzMastermind, Drool, Gorogothands, Val, brand new Patreon from today, Francesco as well. Thank you guys all so much for your support. It means the world to me, and it's basically going to allow me to start streaming really soon, because the streaming PC is essentially paid for. All that we're waiting for is the PCs to actually be available. So huge shout out to everybody. Thank you to anybody watching, also subscribing, liking, and all that good stuff as well. But until the next one, that's going to be Matthew signing out. Peace.